Fresh American boots are quietly moving into position along the Persian Gulf coastline. Elite special forces, airborne paratroopers, battle-hardened Marines, all converging on one of the most volatile flashpoints on Earth. Washington is not just bombing Iran from the sky anymore. The Pentagon is now actively preparing for something far more dangerous, far more consequential, a ground operation inside Iran itself. And the numbers are staggering. The forces now assembling in the region would represent the largest U.S. ground presence in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. That is not a comparison to make lightly. Today, we are going to break down exactly what is happening, who is being deployed and why, what the real targets are, what Iran is doing to prepare its defenses, why the Iranian regime is terrified of its own population, and what all of this means for the future of this war. There is a lot to unpack here. Let us start with what we know for certain. On March 27th, 2026, U.S. Central Command officially confirmed that sailors and Marines aboard the USS Tripoli had arrived in the region. This is not a routine deployment. The USS Tripoli is an amphibious assault ship. It carries transport aircraft, strike fighters, and amphibious assault assets. It brings approximately 3,500 personnel, a mix of sailors and Marines, trained for one specific type of mission, getting onto contested ground fast and hitting hard. This unit, drawn from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, is designed for expeditionary operations, amphibious landings, rapid response combat, and seizure of key terrain. But that is only the beginning. According to reporting from the Washington Post, a second Marine Expeditionary Unit, the 11th MEU, based aboard the USS Boxer, is approximately 1 week behind. When both units are fully in place, the United States will have nearly 5,000 combat-ready Marines with full supporting assets. F-35 stealth fighters, Osprey vertical takeoff aircraft, attack helicopters, and artillery. All of it within striking distance of the Iranian coastline. And then there is the 82nd Airborne Division. The Pentagon has officially confirmed that elements from the 82nd Airborne Division, somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 paratroopers, are being deployed to the Middle East. Based out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the 82nd is the Army's Rapid Response Force. These are the soldiers the military sends when it needs boots on the ground fast. They deploy by air. They can establish a ground presence in a hostile environment within hours. They are not defensive forces. They are offensive instruments optimized for speed, surprise, and shock. Here is where it gets even more interesting. On top of all of this, the Wall Street Journal reported on March 27th that the Pentagon is weighing the deployment of an additional 10,000 ground troops to the region. That would be on top of the 7,000 Marines and paratroopers we already discussed. Add those together and you are looking at approximately 17,000 newly deployed forces. And remember, this is in addition to the 40,000 to 50,000 U.S. troops already stationed across the Middle East as part of Operation Epic Fury, the joint U.S.-Israeli campaign that began on February 28th. Operation Epic Fury has now entered its 5th week, and the force posture is shifting decisively in one direction. The question everyone is asking is simple: why? What is the plan? That is exactly what Secretary of State Marco Rubio was pressed on directly just 2 days before Tripoli's arrival was announced. A reporter put the question to him bluntly: with this many troops moving into the region, what could this be except preparation for a ground operation? Rubio's answer was careful, very careful. According to Reuters, he said the U.S. is, quote, ahead of schedule on degrading Iran's military capabilities, including its missile and drone programs, its Navy, and its Air Force. He insisted that all objectives could be achieved without ground troops. But then he added something revealing. The president has to be prepared for multiple contingencies, Rubio said. He did not deny that ground operations were being planned. He said the deployments were meant to give President Trump maximum optionality. He did not deny it, and that matters. Then came President Trump's Truth Social post. He promoted a specific Fox News segment, not because he was going to appear on it, but because the segment was laying out the case for why U.S. ground troops might be needed. Not for a full invasion, for something far more targeted, something surgical. The segment focused on one specific objective that is driving the ground operation debate more than any other: uranium. Here is the background you need to understand this. Iran's Isfahan uranium conversion facility, known as Esfahan, was hit during the early strikes of Operation Epic Fury. But here is the problem. According to reporting from Al Jazeera and the Soufan Center, experts believe Iran had stockpiled approximately 460 kilograms of highly enriched uranium at that facility. Some of it is believed to be under rubble now. But rubble does not neutralize uranium. Military and intelligence analysts fear Iran could recover that material. And according to the Soufan Center's analysis published March 30th, 460 kilograms of enriched uranium could theoretically be used to produce up to 11 nuclear weapons, dirty bombs, sophisticated missiles, or other nightmare scenarios that have been discussed openly by experts. That is why the Fox News segment Trump promoted was talking about the 82nd Airborne. That is why special forces trained in nuclear material security are being moved into position. The mission being discussed is not storming Tehran. It is securing enriched uranium before Iran can move it, hide it, or weaponize it. But here is where strategy meets reality. And this is the part even US commanders have to be wrestling with. The moment that Fox segment aired, the moment Trump himself drew a spotlight to it by sharing it publicly, Iran was watching. Iran's intelligence services are not amateur hour. Their analysts speak English. They monitor American media in real time. The moment the uranium extraction scenario became a public talking point on American primetime television, promoted by the president himself, the element of surprise for that specific operation essentially evaporated. The Iranians now know that Esfahan is in the crosshairs. They have had days to act on that knowledge. They have had time to set traps. Anti-personnel mines, remotely triggered improvised devices, anti-armor systems staged around the facility. U.S. forces going in would be walking into an environment that the enemy has had time to prepare, not necessarily to win a firefight, but to inflict casualties. Sometimes that is enough. This does not mean a ground operation is off the table. It almost certainly means that the Esfahan extraction mission, if it happens, will look very different from what was telegraphed on television. Or it means that Esfahan is not actually the primary target at all, because there are other targets that make a great deal of strategic sense. Let us talk about Karg Island. Karg Island is a small coral outcrop, roughly 8 square miles, located about 26 kilometers off Iran's southwestern coast. It is Iran's crown jewel. According to Al Jazeera, Karg Island handles approximately 90% of Iran's oil exports. It is the financial artery of the Iranian war machine. Shut down Karg Island, and you have strangled Tehran's revenue at the source. U.S. airstrikes have already hit military infrastructure on the island, including its airfield. According to CNN reporting, Iran has been actively fortifying Karg Island in anticipation of exactly this scenario. Anti-personnel mines have reportedly been placed around the island. Anti-armor mines as well. Shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile systems have been moved in. Iran has rapidly increased both its troop presence and its air defense systems on the island. The Iranian parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, put it in stark terms in a statement carried by the official IRNA news agency. Our men are waiting for the arrival of American soldiers on the ground to set them on fire. Strong words. But they also confirm what CNN sources have been reporting. Iran is not just defending, it is setting traps. And yet, according to Al Jazeera's analysis, military experts believe that Iranian forces on Karg Island could be overcome by the first waves of U.S. forces. The concern is not the battle itself. The concern is what comes after the battle. The IEDs, the booby traps, the complex explosive devices that could trigger days or weeks after the initial seizure. It is the kind of asymmetric threat that does not show up in a body count during the opening assault, but adds up over time in a sustained occupation. There is a third scenario that analysts at Al Jazeera and the Sofan Center have identified as potentially the most achievable of all, clearing the Strait of Hormuz.